am here today, and I am angry. I have witnessed a lot of catcalling and gawking. I have seen women and children being harassed in general, being manhandled, objectified, and even attacked sexually. And I'm not okay with that. And I'm willing to bet that almost everyone in this room right now is not okay about it too. I come from a secluded part of Kintamani. It's called Banjartunigan, and it is a couple of kilometers away from Desa Dausa, which is the main village. The people in my hometown are really close with each other. They're always willing to help each other with anything, and they're all really welcoming. But I learned the hard way that everyone has a shadow. I know it is not my place to judge those I have grown up knowing, those whom I call home, the people who I can rely on. But we all know that no human is perfect. Deep down, there is rage, there is anger, there is jealousy. And sometimes it leads them to hurting one another, whether it's traumatically or not. And I'm not okay with that. A 2019 report by the National Commission of Violence Against Women, or Komnas Perempuan, showed the ever-increasing rate of sexual violence in Indonesia. At least 35 women and girls were sexually abused every single day between the years of 2001 and 2011. The report also recorded a 14% increase in cases of violence against women to a total of 406,178 cases. In early July, a teacher in the islands of Lombok, Baik Nuril Maknun, received a lewd phone call from her head teacher. She recorded the phone call and reported it to the police. Shockingly, she was the one charged for recording this. She was held in police custody for over 2 months while awaiting sentencing and almost spent 6 months in jail. Even the Supreme Court denied her appeal. But thankfully, President Joko Widodo granted her amnesty. In 2019, Indonesians saw a surging number of cases of violence involving children. In April, a 14-year-old girl was bullied and physically assaulted by 3 high school students in West Kalimantan. Her case has created an uproar in social media. At the end of July, the police in Aceh, Indonesia's most conservative province, arrested 2 men who worked at an Islamic school. They allegedly sexually abused 15 students between the ages of 13 and 14, according to 2 students who came forward and got the case investigated by authorities. From January to May 2019, the National Commission of Child Protection received 1,192 reports of violence, including physical, psychological, and sexual violence. In cases of sexual abuse, sometimes the family or school prefer not to come forward because they are ashamed. Indonesia's prevailing laws do not recognize the definition and complexity of sexual violence. For example, the Criminal Code, or KUHP, only recognizes forcible penile penetration of a woman's vagina as rape. The law does not recognize other forms of sexual violence, including sexual harassment. This is one of the reasons why the Sexual Violence Eradication Bill is critical to improving the protection of women in the country. Now, these were just a few of the examples I have found from the past decade, and here we are in 2021 and nothing has changed. It's complete stagnation. Sexual violence still happens and still is a big problem, and the Indonesian government has not been able to accomplish the law they set around the topic of sexual violence. They have not been able to realize and open their mind that sexual violence is not just forcible penile penetration to a woman's vagina. And I'm not okay with that. And I feel like no matter how much we shout, no matter how much we rise, campaign, demand, and scream for justice, it just never seemed to be enough. There's not a single dent in the concrete wall keeping away the justice from the people who need it most. And in this case, victims of sexual assault. And I'm not okay with that. Another reason why I'm angry is because I had a personal experience. It happened when I was very young, and it was triggering enough that I pushed it to the back of my head. And it wasn't until grade 10 that I was finally able to remember it. I was drowning in anger. I didn't know how to deal with it. And the only option I could think of was to talk to my friends, but I felt nervous. I knew they would be there for me no matter what, but there were voices in my head telling me that maybe they would not understand, that maybe they would not believe me, that maybe they would not take me seriously. I felt the shame that many women feel when they get harassed. But I didn't want those voices to hold me back any longer because I was tired. So one day, I pulled two of my trusted friends aside and told them my story. And to my relief, they showed me so much support and validation. And from that, it made me brave enough to continue my healing journey. Now, there have been many steps in my healing journey. One of my first experience of coming to terms with being objectified was a Voices performance when I was in year 8. Sometimes, if we can't name something, we are not able to address it, right? So when I first saw the raw stories of women in Bali being oppressed by men in power, I suddenly realized that this sort of thing happens to so many women, and I felt the disgust towards male immorality. I could not believe it, and it created a tidal wave of rage within me. So the awareness was there, but I was too focused on my 8th grade capstone project to focus more on it. But then in 11th grade, I participated in the 2020 Voices performance. I was around all these amazing teachers, parents, students, and even the amazing Pat Demo. And I got to embody female characters and tell their stories of women, of them living in societies where women are degraded. It built up more fire and gave me the opportunity to connect with others who have gone through similar things to me. And one of the ways I heal is to listen to other people's stories. It builds an urge within me to help them, and it helps me. I feel the strength and love and support of allies, even those who are male. Now, it may seem odd but COVID helped me too in some ways. Less than a month after the 2020 Voices performance that I just spoke of, COVID hit. I was so deeply disappointed and frustrated because there were a lot of things that I wanted to do but got robbed away by the COVID. But then it gave me a lot of time to find things that helped me heal. COVID brought me peace, time to ponder. I got to be more with myself and learn more about me. Now, during this time, I began to realize that I'm equal to a man and can do whatever a man can. I spent time on social media, and this strengthened my commitment to accepting myself. I saw a lot of posts from activists, more towards the Black Lives Matter movement, but there were also a lot of people telling their stories through the Me Too movement. I felt inspired, empowered, and it even gave me energy. I began to see the sexually aggressive men as cowards, who are so desperate to prove that they're men, when actually their actions, catcalling people, sexually harassing people, really makes them less of a man, and it puts a bad face on who they are. I developed a new focus. Don't judge me, but I was on social media 24/7, watching all these people standing up for each other, and it led me to the Sahkan RUU PKS campaign. Let me say that slower, because I don't think anyone caught that. Sahkan RUU PKS campaign. It's a 16-day campaign of anti-gender-based violence against women. It's an international campaign, and I did my part by spreading awareness as much as I could, posting on Instagram, educating myself further, and sharing as much information to others as possible. The sense of community and togetherness gave me more of an understanding of what is happening around the world. Knowledge motivated me to help others, and now I know that my love language is service. For me, it's a healing language. I am happy that I participated in these movements, But I noticed that I also needed to take care of myself and find things that brought me joy. I felt exhausted, and I shifted my thoughts. I began painting at home. Now, I have never liked painting because I was not good at it, but I had time with COVID and everything, and it was the only peaceful thing I could think of. In painting, I sketched the outlines and paint within the lines. I converted my energy from angry to tranquility. It infused me with an acceptance of who I am and feeling of value regardless of my gender. So, by a happy accident, I joined Pakmo's Leap online class. It gave me an opportunity to try different things that directed my attention from the issues. Cooking and trying out different recipes allowed me to concentrate the task at hand and forget about the world. So here, I just made some things. Embroidery put me in a sort of trance that created a haven just for me. And I even tried to dye my sheets with butterfly pea flowers, and while it was frustrating, it even made me excited and giddy awaiting the results. But sadly, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it, but the most important thing was I had fun. I also took time for myself to sit in the field beside my house and embrace the freedom to just be me. My recent joyful activities are sketching and paper making. I am able to find what makes me happy and puts me in my own world away from others. So I made some paper, and that's some of the things I sketched. It was mostly like late night sketching. That's when I let my thoughts really wander, It was good to learn, and I enjoy finding things that brought me peace. But as I said earlier, my love language is service, and Green School gave me the chance. Since Green School invites Ibu Sari and the PKP Community Center, and formerly known as the Kim's Women's Center, to every V-Day event, I found out more about Ibu Sari and her journey. Originally, she created the Yayasan for women who suffered from domestic abuse, sexual assault, poverty, etc. Her story resonated with me because of my own personal journey, and I felt compelled to get to know her more. And in Block 6, I went to do an internship at her Yayasan. So that's she's one of the family that they helped, that the Yayasan helped, and I taught some English, and Yuka and I helped around as much as we could. The women there are incredibly open with their stories, and like me, they find various ways to heal. Through spending time with them, I learned that whatever you go through, you can have vulnerable moments, but you gotta be strong. You have to open yourself up and help others. And as I became stronger, I began to share my stories with more people. And I found that they too experienced similar things to me, and they gained courage to share their own stories. Through all of that, I gained courage and empathy to be there when a friend of mine was assaulted recently right here in Sibang. On that morning, she shared with me that she had been attacked, but she gouged his eyes out, punched him, and got away. This made me feel really angry and confused as to why he did it. My friend is a strong woman, and when I think about her being attacked, the sense of worry, paranoia, the fear, I have a huge disappointment in humanity. Sometimes trauma of this sort of thing presents itself in different ways. Her way was to get angry and move on quickly, but because I understood because of my own experience, I was able to support her by holding a space of solidarity through simply listening and being there. While I would never have wished any form of sexual harassment to happen to me or others, my experience created within me a passion for helping others, and through this healed myself further. And I chose this photo of me. I took it recently. It was for a campaign. It says, "Bukan badan kami yang ditutupi, tapi otakmu yang diedukasi." Meaning, it's not our bodies that needs to be covered, but it's your brain that needs to be educated. Now, each of us must find our own way of coping with what we are suffering and experiencing. And while inspiration from others are good, your journey is your own. And if you ever need an ear to listen, a shoulder to cry on, or a hand to hold, I'm here for you. I hope my journey helps you find your own fire and your courage to stand up, speak out, and be there for others too. And you know what? I think I'm okay with that.